everyone. That we are going to start the class now, and we started with a bowing and the recitation of the four great vows. Please join your palms and bow. Recitation of the four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. I vow to cut off endless vexations of self-nature. I vow to practice limitless approaches to Dharma of self-nature. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood of self-nature. Today's class has kind of a long title to it, which is I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Some of you may remember that was a title of a song very popular, I hate to say many years ago, by U2. And that song always really kind of stuck in my head as some kind of an anthem for the latest generations in terms of people and trying to find what they're looking for in life, and in particular, when I talk to people about the practice, and as they become more mature in the practice, then thoughts of accomplishments and attainments begin to seep in on the sides, even though they are practicing non-attainment, it nevertheless comes in. And it generally comes in because they've read something about different levels. And for the past couple of weeks, I've literally been inundated with people private messaging me on the Mind Work Forum, talking to me personally about different levels. And, kind of like when people would go on vacation and in the station wagon, the youngest one in the back, me, would always be asking, "Are we there yet?" And we just barely pulling out of the driveway, and I'm already wondering how long it's going to take. And back then, when I was young, there wasn't so many freeways. Well, they were free, but they were slow, and there wasn't as many of them as there are now. So it took time to get anywhere we went. But it was difficult because one would have the idea of anticipation. If we all got into the family station wagon, everybody together, there was 6 of us in total, that meant that we were going somewhere interesting. It could have been to grandmother's or grandfather's house, or it could be to, very rarely, to something very entertaining, mostly to relatives' houses and stuff. But if we'd never been there before, always wondering how long it was going to take to get there. And that's kind of like what people are doing now, and I'm the driver, and people are asking me, am I there yet? Or am I at least halfway there yet? Or a quarter of the way there? Just tell me something that I'm moving in the right direction. And this is a natural process. The master, the teacher, has to have great patience with their students. And they can't forget that they too were there. They were there and wondering, is it soup yet? Did I get somewhere? Was that an imagination, or did that light really mean something? Did that sound mean something? Did that color mean something? And some of you, are already checking off the boxes on some of this and saying, I was there. And where you go, well, where was I? Well, I was at the color red, or I was at this light, or I was at this sound, or I was at no sound. All these different things that can come up that we think that are indications of some kind of an enlightening experience, and if not enlightening experience, an awakening. And this particular lecture doesn't have a particular direction that it's going, because wherever I go, it's still the same thing. It has to do with expectations. It has to do with our practice and our correct practice. But it's helpful because we're all there. We're all kind of what haven't found what we're looking for, and that's been kind of my mantra. Is I still haven't found what I'm looking for, but it keeps me honest. It keeps me thinking there's much more to this, and there very much is. The more I practice, it seems the further away I am from it, because it opens up to such vastness. I realize I'm so minuscule in comparison to mind, and only by letting go can there be a merger or an absorption of the self that it enables one to get. I shouldn't even say one, because one is the wrong term. Enables the mind to get a taste of mind, and this is the part that's difficult for us, because we are not part of that equation except for this one little tiny pixel um, in in all of this. And looking at the astronomers and the new telescopes that they have, some of them now that measure the infrared, and it opened up the universe to essentially, it exploded the universe much, much further and greater than we'd ever thought it was, by so many times. And then they're sending these pictures back of distant areas that include not just galaxies, but groups of galaxies that are, I even forgot how many billions of years ago, way beyond our the opening of our this expansion of this particular cosmos. And I think about it and think about how many pixels are in these pictures that they're making, and we and our own, even our own little galaxy isn't but just a tiny pixel in all of that, if that. And it's so vast. But we want to blow up our head to be able to fit all of the universe. And it's not easy for us to do that. There's the very famous story of the frog that wanted to climb out of the well, because all he could see and all the other frogs could see was just this hole at the top. And this hole, you could just see things passing by like clouds, and every once in a while, uh, uh, some kind of twinkling lights in a darkness. And so when he finally got up and peeked his head over the side of the well, his head blew off. And it is in this way when we go, well, why did his head blow off? It's because he could not hold it. There was no way that he could hold that. And what we're doing when we practice, a lot of times when we start searching for this, and we kind of sneak it out into our back pocket when we're sitting meditating, we're up front, we're going, I'm not seeking anything, nothing to attain, whatever. But really, we're still going, like, what was that noise? What was that? And we want to record it in something that makes it worth the fact that we're sitting there cross-legged on this little, maybe 2 by 2 foot cushion or 2 by 3 foot cushion, um, and not saying anything, not moving, and you want to get something for it. You know, what did I get from doing that? Nothing. Don't talk. And it's difficult for people to understand that. I remember when I was first starting, and one of my friends, he from law school, he became a judge, and I went to visit him, and I was telling him what I was doing now, and telling him about retreats and what you do on a retreat, how many hours you get up at 4 a.m. At that point, it was 4 a.m. in the morning, and you sit all day cross-legged and you don't talk. And he was beside himself to even think of how could that possibly be something constructive where you're just sitting there and you're not talking for a week. And for an attorney, it really is pretty difficult. It almost makes our heads blow off like the frog to not talk for a week because that's our stock and trade. But it's something that we have to understand what we're doing there, rather than trying to grasp for some fruit. Any fruit that we will grasp at is either green fruit, unripened fruit, or these low-hanging fruits. No, they're not that uh, good. And what they do is by taking these unripened fruits or these low-hanging fruits, we we don't wait for them to really ripen, um, and we're actually retarding the practice of meditation by doing this because we are secretly clinging to these experiences. And we want to have these experiences, and some of you have had experiences, and some of you have had so-called experiences, and sometimes I've had people quit because I refuse to acknowledge that their so-called experience was a true experience or that they had become enlightened. Um, and how am I going to confirm on them that they become enlightened, um, when I don't even talk about that as something as even a goal for myself, other than the vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. But that's not a personal enlightenment. It's different. But it's something that's natural for us to do that. We want, when we go to work and we finish, we expect to get a paycheck, to get something for our effort. And when we sit for all that time, we don't get anything to it. Maybe, when I would go to the retreats, Master Shen might nod at you and say, see you next time. But he didn't give you a report card or tell you what level you're at. And then recently somebody was saying, oh, the Shifu was talking about the levels of meditation, and and which level am I, and talking about these things. And we talk about the four jhanas, or the nine bhumis. All of these things we look at as something, as an aspiration to get there, and we kind of want to do a checklist to say, oh, I'm at the first bhumi, or the second bhumi, and some more pretentious people may think that the eighth bhumi or the ninth bhumi, or they could even invent the 10th bhumi. While they're at it, they might as well go whole hog and claim that. But it isn't in this way. One should not be thinking about whatever level that one is. It's a retardant to the practice, because as you begin to do that, you cling to that, and then your mind secretly shifts into this mind of attainment. So if I went to you and I went to Kreger and said, Kreger, you're at the fifth bhumi. If you put in a little more effort, you can get to the sixth bhumi. Him not knowing what we were talking about in this lecture today, he might go, wow, I'm already at the fifth bhumi, sixth bhumi. That's easy. By Christmas, I'll be at the sixth bhumi, seventh, by New Year, and by spring, I'm going to be freaking enlightened. And that's the way the mind starts calculating these things. So we can't do that. And Gregor, that doesn't mean to say that you're at the fifth bhumi. Okay, um, you could be at the eighth bhumi, but I don't want to fluff you up too much, or for that matter, the first bhumi. So let the booms down. But in any case, the thing is that because the mind works in this way, I don't think his mind works in the way. But some people say, well, he said the fifth bhumi, so it must be that I'm at the fifth bhumi. And then they'll go around and go, what did Gilbert say? He said I was at the fifth bhumi already, the fifth one. But that's the trick of the mind and the ego that wants to have us do things like that. The progress that I made in the practice was, and it happened extremely quickly after I made this determination, which was I was going to put down any idea of any signs of uh, awakening, any signs of progress or whatever, that whatever came up, it just came up naturally, but it really didn't have anything to do with me and my practice. I would just let it go. And right after that, there was a tremendous shift in the direction of the mind. And this is very, very important when I talk about the direction of the mind, because this shifted away from this mind of attainment, even though it was a secret mind of attainment, because Gilbert wasn't talking about an attaining mind, he was preaching non-attainment. But there was still this idea that maybe there's this progress, and if I get something, wow, let me talk to Shifu about this and tell him how great it was, as if I wasn't like the 900,000th person to say something like that to him. And I realized that Shifu had more important things to do than to have somebody like me bothering him about some low hanging fruit. But all of a sudden, the mind began to, as if there were a parting of some clouds, and there was clarity. Not a great clarity, but there was nevertheless a clarity there that wasn't there before. It wasn't Gilbert. It wasn't Gilbert's mind. It was as if one was polishing that diamond, just working on polishing the diamond, and just staying with it, staying with it. And they looked in. Gilbert's face didn't reflect back, but the true nature did. It was as if one could see through that facet, not a long way, but they could see right through our idea of what reality is. And I think that that's probably the best way to try to describe a beginning experience, is seeing through the facade of this world as being real and seeing it as a dream, not by words and phrases, but by experience, direct experience. And this is going to be the refrain in what I'm going to be talking about today, this idea of a direct experience, or this gnosis. This gnosis comes from imagining our practice as this giant container ship, and and as we're going in there with this giant container ship, it's difficult. It's not like a little motorboat we can change directions like this. Its true course has to be determined, and slowly moving towards the proper direction. But it takes time to move it. Sometimes it will shift back over and come to this part here, floating into samsara. But when we direct the mind to mind, it's our lodestone, the what we follow. It is a true direction. It is the heart of the practice that we begin to go towards that way. We begin to work that way. And I think Esther's here today. Are you? I don't have everybody on here. You hiding there in the back? She here? I thought she was. Anyway, because she's been asking me about this all day long, and about what heart is. And this heart is important because it is when we begin to direct the mind, we direct the mind from wisdom, and it begins to head in the proper course. It follows the lodestone of the heart, not your heart, but the heart of mind. And in that heart of mind, you are no greater than any other sentient being, but you have responsibility for this aspect of the course. And so you begin to set the course in this way. As you begin to set the course in this way, others follow you. Now, some of you have students already of your own, and you are setting their course in the same way as I set the course for you. So you come up to me, you know, and Robert's there like a parrot. What's the course, Captain? Well, we head this way. No, we head with wisdom. Follow the up ahead the horizon of compassion. We go this way. And we begin to show others that this course. This is the true practice. Don't sit there waiting for some, George Lucas laser like experience, Um, don't don't do that. Don't look for extra special things. Just be patient. Understand what you're doing. It's so noble, it's so grand, it's so simple. We make it complicated by looking for something. But we can't find it in that way because the you cannot find it. No matter how long you've been looking for it, you cannot find it. You have to put the you down. It's not easy. It doesn't mean if you put the you down that you cease to function like some kind of a marionette, that the the strings are cut. No. The only strings that are cut are the strings of habitual tendencies. That's the true marionette, where you go, Gilbert, do you want a donut? No, I'll take it. And the hand magically goes up, and the mouth magically opens, and in goes the donut. It's not that kind of the strings, it's the strings of directing the mind. So as we begin to direct the mind in everything we do, every moment, we are directing the mind. This is not talked about, but it's the practice. It's the practice. So we direct the mind to non conceptual wakefulness. That's about as deep as it gets, folks. And I've been talking about this to you for many, many months. But it is something that little by little, as I begin to talk to you, it begins to make sense. The first few hundred times, maybe not. But after a while, it begins to fit in. And then you understand what the practice is. It has nothing to do with planting your bottom on a cushion. Although it's okay to plant your bottom on a cushion, you don't get any frequent flyer miles by sitting on the cushion. It is what you do when you get up that makes the difference. When we understand that, then we understand what the heart of the practice is. It is not us trying to get somewhere. So please don't try to get anywhere. Don't. I'm sorry, Shanta, you have a question?
Yes, there's something wrong with our Zoom account, and it says that our meeting only has 7 minutes left. For some reason, it's acting as though it's a free account, which it is not. Um, so we may get kicked out in 7 minutes. I have no idea why this is happening.
So this is like the doomsday clock, right?
Yeah, there's a clock ticking on the right side. You probably can see it.
Oh, I don't see it on mine. I see the exit door. Um, one thing, Santha, is I noticed that everything is a little bit different right now, as if Zoom has changed its.
Right. Yeah. So I could not record to the I could not record to the cloud. I have to record it locally and something else. And it looks on the website, it looks like it's a pro paid plan, but Zoom is acting as though it is not. So there's something going on out of my control, but we might get kicked out. I'm so sorry.
Well, I've been kicked out of better places, so it's okay. Um, but in any case, if that happens, this is our doomsday plan. Then what we will do is five. You think it would take you 5 minutes to set up again?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. And as I'm not seeing if I didn't put my. Oh, hold on. So I'm only halfway through. Um, yeah. So I don't want to call it on a. You
Yeah,
know.
if you can give 5 minutes, either we come back here or I'll host it on my personal account and I'll send a link on in Mighty Network.
Yeah. So that'll probably be more difficult than it's worth. But if we can get back on, fine. If not, then I'll. I got 7 minutes to talk about what I want. Like I say, this is kind of a more of a flavor rather than a direction in terms of that. So thank you for letting me know. If we disappear, 5 minutes after we do that, try to come back on, and we'll see where we go. And there's somebody in the chat. The chat, was that you?
No.
No. Okay, good enough then. All right, I'll continue on. Thank you. We'll see. When we come to this practice, we come here in different ways. Some of us come because we came from a devotional family and came or went somewhere and learned the devotional side. Devotional being, recitation of the Buddha's name, the bathing of the Buddha, those kinds of events, the arrival of the abbot president, and then you see how many people are there to show their devotion. But the some people come because they came from schools or from philosophy and were drawn to Buddhism in this way, a scholastic type of an interest in everything, um, and others they came like seekers. Sometimes I'll tell people you're a seeker, meaning that you've been kind of bouncing around looking for whatever it is that makes sense to you, that you think that uh, you want to know what this is all about. You want to know what reality is. You want to know what mind is. All of these things. And so you kind of bounce and bounce until you finally hit somewhere like this and you just go, wait a second, this one begins to make sense and begins to resonate with me. And so those are ways that people come to the Dharma. And then there's people who come because their wife was a Buddhist and they followed along with the person. No, actually, that was my way in, but it it worked, uh, and but I was actually also a seeker, so I had like a double major in terms of seeking something about Buddhism. But as we go along, if you see my practice is one that has a balance of the scholastic and the doctrine of sitting or meditation, of devotional as well. And I think all of those things are very helpful to us to build the faith in the practice and understand and build compassion in the practice, that is something that we really look at. Now, I gave great respect to a group of people from Dharma Drum in L.A. When my sister passed. They had let me know that they had recited the Heart Sutra for her over 28,000 times. They didn't know her, but they they put her on the list to do that, to recite for 28,000 times. That's amazing. I mean, this is beyond what I would call just a Sunday or Saturday devotional person. This is true devotion. This is very incredible compassion that's there, because not only do they direct this to the person that passed away, but their heart directs it to all those who have passed away as they're doing it. So this too is part of our practice. We don't have to try to become enlightened. As I'd mentioned to you once, I had put down the idea of seeking any kind of a what I call now a physical manifestation of proof of something. Um, the more the more information came in of mind, the more that the mind revealed, which is kind of what it is. It's there's a revelation there, um, that comes, that shows. It kind of pushes out the borders of what you believe to be reality. And you don't have to be on the eighth bhumi or the fourth jhana to do that. You can just sit, and then you practice sincerely. You can push those borders out. About a year ago in LA,